Hey, what's up, guys, and welcome back to Anime King 3. And I'm back with part 4 of What If Naruto Was an Uchiha Bastard, guys. Remember to get this one too. 100 like as usual. Share this to all of your friends on your social media platform. And also, guys, don't forget to go ahead and check out the brand new episode of What If Naruto Was Born, 1 in a trillion over on Anime King 2. Yes, that's correct. I indeed have 3 channels which I post What If on every single day for you guys to enjoy. All the links will be down in the description, so go ahead, check them out, and yeah, enjoy and become a part of the Anime King family. So without further ado or wasting more time, how about we jump right into this brand new episode? Let us begin now, guys. So the last part that we left off, Mikoto broke Naruto. Yes, she did. As she rejected him. Tell him that she didn't want to marry him. That she didn't want to be with him. That she didn't want to marry him. It shattered him. A couple of years passed since that, as the third grade shinobi war was in full swing. A group of Konoha ninjas were pinned down by a group of stone ninjas as their numbers were increasing. That is when Naruto arrived, having made quite the name for himself already. He descended upon the battlefield like death itself, as he rained destruction and death. He had gathered the name Hollow, because everyone that faced him said that he was simply a hollow shell that steal your soul if you fought him for too long. A emotionless monster, a beast that slaughter without remorse, without hesitation. We then had a flashback in the past. Naruto had come to meet Madara and speak to him on how he was able to keep the world at bay when he joined forces with Hoshirama. As Madara told Naruto that Hoshirama was never a violent person. However, the world feared him because his power was so great. And that is the greatest thing in this world. Fear. Once you had that, no one would ever make a move against you. As he told Naruto that he had to grip the heart of the elemental nation, to the point that they understood that the wrong mistake against him would lead to their downfall, to their complete evisceration. As the time went by, Madara spoke to Naruto about a world that was far better than this one. A pure world, a world without violence, a world without death, a world without suffering. However, Naruto laughed. He knew why Mikoto did what she did. He knew that someone said something to her. However, that wasn't what he was angry about. The fact that she lost faith in him. The fact that she did not believe that he could weather the storm that would come. However, Naruto has been through so traumatic moments, so many. He's been put through the ringer time and time again. But he's never broken. He's never given up. He refused to live into a dream world where nothing is real, where everything was just a figment of one imagination. As Naruto spoke to Madara telling him that, he knew that he would continue his plans despite his words, which mean whoever that he was currently using would be his future enemy. Neither of them spoke about that after that. However, the both of them knew what that meant. It was sometime later after that Madara was gone, as Naruto figured that he was putting his plan or whatever he was doing into full swing. However, Naruto did not mind, as any threat that Madara posed against Kushina Uzumaki would be dealt with by Naruto personally. So yes, Naruto did not fear anything regarding that subject. Minato got hurt pretty badly after Kushina lost control, which led to Naruto speaking to him. Tsunade was brought back to the village. She figured that Naruto didn't want to see her, but that wasn't it at all, as Naruto showed her something that left her rather shocked, as she couldn't believe it. However, he was glad to see and even speak to her, as he seemed to not bring any anger towards her, but she could tell that something was gravely wrong. She could see it in his eyes. The union of Mikoto and Uchiha was a big deal, and every Uchiha had to be there, including Naruto. The look that Fukaku gave Naruto, it was a sign to show that he won. Yes, he won, because Naruto would never have her. However, all he received was an empty stare. The Hinastone decided to put the war in their favor by sending out 2,000 shinobis, as Konoha was too close to taking down the bridge, and they couldn't allow that to happen. As Naruto descended upon the battlefield, Minato descended on the other battlefield. It was in that moment that the entire elemental nation changed, as Naruto pulled out the Mokiton. Orochimaru had gifted Naruto something, that plant, because the Sannin had saw signs that Naruto was special more than anyone else. That mutation that seemed to have died with the first had been reawakened inside of Naruto. The small amount of Senjus that remained knew they had no say or could do anything regarding Naruto and how he chose to represent himself now, as none of them meant anything to him. Orochimaru refined a blade for Naruto as he gave him for the battlefield, as Naruto went there to speak to Anko as well, Orochimaru's new apprentice. The Sannin was looking forward to Naruto changing many things in this world. As Naruto eviscerated 1,000 shinobis, Minato eviscerating 1,000 on his side. That is when the Tsuchikage realized that they had to stop, because if they did not, their nation would cease to exist. Yes, they had to put to a stop immediately. However, it wasn't done yet, as Naruto met up with Danzo Shamura after speaking to the third. The elemental nation was still in the swings of war with the other nations, and they were going to make sure that something like this never happens again, as Naruto was on board. So yeah guys, basically as we left off, you guys can switch across the playcheck to yourself. So to begin this new episode, we begin this new episode with Naruto Uchiha, aka the Hollow. Standing behind Naruto were 5 shinobis. They all had masks on. These weren't your average shinobis. They were root agents, subjects of Danzo Shamura. As Naruto stood in front of 3 metal posts, just a bit behind the border that leads to the land of lightning. On the ground there was a Kunoichi. She seemed to be in pain and unable to do much. The 3 shinobis that were strapped to the posts, she glared up at Naruto with such hate in her eyes. "You'll die for this," she said, rage overtaking her. Naruto knelt down in front of her, causing her to spit. He reached up and wiped it off before backhanding her, knocking out a few of her teeth with the force that he slapped her with. "You should be grateful. You're going to be the messenger. At least, your life will be spared like that." Upon Naruto saying that, one of the root ninjas started to splash something on the 3 shinobis. All of them were Kumo ninjas. The woman cursed Naruto's name with such rage in her tone as Naruto flipped a lighter out of his pocket and started to light. She tried to get up only for one of the root ninjas to send her back down to the ground. Naruto threw the lighter as it made contact with the gasoline. The fire blazed as the 3 shinobis, who were semi-unconscious, The pain fully weakened them. They screamed out. However, there was not much he could do, as they were strapped down. Naruto stood there, the flames from the fire reflecting in his cold, dark eyes as they burned. The tears in her eyes as she watched her fellow comrade, and not to mention one of them being her own brother, burned alive right in front of her eyes. Those cold, wicked eyes gazed into hers. The hidden leaf is done talking, Naruto said, as he got up and started to walk away. Over the past few months, since joining up with Danzo, a lot has happened. For one, the Hidden Stones start to pull back their forces, realizing that annihilation would be what they would be getting if they continue with this assault. They pulled their forces way back, as they were putting an end to this. There were a few shinobis that were caught scouting nearby Konoha borders. All of them died in the most gruesomest way possible. Every single time there was a survivor, word started to spread. The Hollow, the monster. His name became so infamous that, on sight, just as it was recorded, they ran. Those who were brave enough to stand up and see if they could actually do something started to run away. There were tales of his name despite being so young. They feared him with everything they got. Time skip, crying could be heard as people were dragged by their feet and arms. The root ninjas were throwing them in a pile. Their legs and body was broken, but they were still amongst the living. Held down by a knee to his back was a man known as Ao. As he struggled to move, the eye patch that was on one of his eyes was ripped off, and the eyeball was gouged out, courtesy of Naruto. He had defeated a Hyuga and taken said eye after his was damaged during the battle. They're innocent. They have nothing to do with this. Ao tried to plead with Naruto, as the innocent people were thrown like they were garbage. Innocent, Naruto said, looking towards the man. Perhaps they are. However, they are guilty of being associated with those that placed the three tails inside of that kunoichi, wanting her to return back to Konoha and let it loose on my people. So no, in my eyes they're stained with the blood that your fellow men are stained with, and like that, they shall all burn. Don't do it, Ao shouted, as he watched man, woman, and child set ablaze, along with a few shinobis in the mix. Heartless, emotionless, Naruto knelt in front of the man, raising his bloody hand towards him that he used to rip the Byakugan out of his socket. You people always try to find some kind of semblance in your words after things are already done. But who started this? What was the reason why your nation got involved? Greed, power, money, all of that. You should have kept to yourself and stayed to the waters, Naruto said, getting up. The root ninja removing his knee from the man, leaving Ao bloody, messed up on the ground, as the group simply made their way off, him not daring to do anything, knowing that it would lead to his death. Time skip. Naruto stood in front of his mirror within his bathroom, his long dark hair drenched as he just stepped out of the shower. Looking back at him was his reflection, but the face was not similar to his. Somehow it was moving and turning in ways that could only describe as a hallucination. It was laughing at him, enjoying the ruckus that they were causing. Perhaps Snathy was right. The only other person that knew what truly happened to him was Snathy, because Naruto trusted her. She just couldn't stay here. The village, it was chipping away at her very soul. She wasn't like him. She could not bear through the pain anymore. However, Tsunade knew that Naruto was not bearing through the pain either. He was empty. Now that was strange because he laughed, he joked, he spoke with others like a normal individual. And yet, part of him was just not there. He had emotions, and yet his emotions seemed like they were dull and dry. However, Naruto did not feel like it was a problem. In fact, it made him a better shinobi. However, he knew what started all of this. Mikoto. His mother never truly cared that much about him because he was the child that ruined her life. To make her be seen as some sort of slut that got knocked up by a Uchiha. And his father, well, his reputation was already so bad of not caring about anyone but himself. That great Uchiha pride of being unavailable. But when he met her, she was nice to him unlike everyone else. It was different, perhaps because they were so close in age. He immediately fell for her. Years he spent trying to build the courage to say something when he heard that she would be marrying Fukaku. It broke a part of him, but he still believed that there was a chance. And when he told her everything and she said yes, the amount of happiness that he felt could have lighted up the entire universe. They were each other's first in everything. Up until the day that she left. It happened when they were both 16. The first time was extremely embarrassing. Well, for him, it only lasted around 20 seconds. Perhaps he was just a bit too overexcited. However, he did recover and came back better than ever. It was bliss, happiness. And then she ripped out his heart and stomped on it. And tossed it away. That shattered part of him. Allowing him to do things that he would have never done before. Massacre, burn, demolish people like it was nothing. Because other people's life doesn't seem to mean anything to him anymore. And he did not feel bad about that. The problem was, he wasn't happy. He wasn't miserable or sad either. He was just, it was hard to describe. Food, sex, friends, everything. They were just, as his namesake, empty. He stepped back in his bedroom as someone lay on his bed. A dark-haired kunoichi from the village. He didn't even remember her name. He went to the bar with a few friends and he met her and brought her back here. Pleasure was good, but it just didn't bring him any joy. As he looked down at her, he got dressed and decided to go for a midnight walk, just to clear his mind. Naruto found himself heading towards the cemetery, as there was a lot of life that were lost during this vicious time. However, despite how late it was, he wasn't alone. Naruto suppressed himself completely. As he ventured within the darkness, he saw someone standing there, wearing a dark cloak, standing in front of a grave. Naruto's gaze narrowed on said individual. The next moment, their body suddenly started to distort and twist before being sucked away. Stepping out, Naruto made his way towards said grave and looked down at it. As he raised the eyebrow in surprise. Time skip. Danzo Sharmira pointed down on a map. It was a map of the elemental countries. However, he was pointing at a certain spot on the map. Once we take here, Our trading routes with the land of rice will open up significantly, Danzo said. Danzo was playing a big game right here. He had respect for Naruto, yes, being the kind of man that he was, following his teacher ideals, his teacher being Tobirama Senju, the distrust of the Uchihas. However, Danzo did not see Naruto as any Uchiha. He was different. Their ideals were the same. Their ideas and how they saw things and how things should go. Danzo could tell that Hiruzen was having some problems with his route, introduction training, so he was using Naruto as a strong point. As of this moment, the most talked about names in the village were the Hollow and the Yellow Flash. The Hollow even outshining the Yellow Flash because of recent activities, to the point that some of his own started to fear him, believing that he was a loose cannon. However, they wouldn't dare to say or do anything regarding anything about him because of said fear. Introducing Naruto with using his root ninjas were going to prove to everyone that root were reliable, so Hiruzen would have no choice but to stand aside as things play out in his favor. Yes, so that is why he was currently having this little best for the both of them with Naruto, given that Naruto seemed to want the same output as him. What about this spot, said Naruto, pointing towards a different area. If we take this, we can get the both of them. Yes, that is correct, Danzo said. However, this land is unclaimed, but the proximity of it being close to the land of lightning, there is no doubt in my mind that resistance will be made. A lot of resistance, Danzo said. I've already accounted for that, but this land doesn't belong to anyone, so it can be taken by Konoha. And if it is taken, the trading route between us and them will be much more wider for our supplies. And Konoha can set up right there as well. Pushing back Kumo even more, Danzo realized what Naruto was saying. The Raikage will not be a fan of this, given the recent activities amongst our people. That isn't our concern, said Naruto. If they decide to fight, we will bring them down as we did the others. Danzo had nothing more to say on that subject. After all, he wanted the other nations to bow, and Naruto ideals were in that same part as well. So, going for the bigger fish would lead to the bigger reward. As Danzo gathered his men to bat Naruto up, these missions were not being sanctioned by the higher-ups or anyone of Konoha. This was a private militia, and Danzo had the authority to make sure that Konoha was kept safe. So that is why Naruto could go out of his bounds and do things that he wouldn't normally do, as this was all being conducted for the betterment of the village. So far, it has proven to be a great standing point. The Hidden Stone had backed off. Kiri was retreating back into the waters. Kumo was the last one left. The Sand was smart enough not to do anything stupid, as they had talks with the Hokage. Raza, not wanting anyone step on his sand, but he realized that he either get in shape or he died. So yes, time skip. As Naruto marched on the unoccupied piece of land that would allow them to expand their territory to get more supplies, he could tell where they were, all of them. Behind him was a group of 10, and behind them was a group of 15, hiding as supplies and backup. Naruto did not really need the numbers. However, allow his enemies to believe that he needed the help, allow them to underestimate him. Naruto could tell where they were, and there was quite a lot of them beyond the scope. As he stood on said unoccupied land, he could feel all of them. There was a little mountainside that led straight up. Looking up, Naruto saw the first scout gazing down towards him. Soon, the place was bombarded with all sorts of Kumo ninjas, ready to fight over this piece of land. it not belonging to either of the nations. It would be a bloodbath. That is what Naruto believed until someone leaped from the high platform. Naruto jumped away as the ground was demolished, bursting out of the smoke. The hand almost took his head off as Naruto weaved underneath it and immediately jumped away. As Naruto took a step to see who exactly he was looking at, knowing that this wasn't your average shinobi, a smirk graced his features as he stood upright, as Naruto was surprised. Yes, he didn't expect this. Standing there, in all of his might and glory was the new Raikage, as he stood there, lightning crackling off of him slightly. The man wasn't wearing a shirt. There was a belt around his waist, with a monstrous beast head on it, dark pants, massive bracers on his arms. His dark yellow hair was plaited back. I must say, of all the people I expect to see, you were not one of them, said Naruto. I'm surprised that you would come here yourself. I suppose you knew that we would make movement towards this land, and you're here to fight about it. The Raikage cracked his neck. I was hoping that they sent you, he said, so I can rip you apart for what you did to my people. Ah, I suppose you get the message from that Kunoichi sent back. Tell me, how is she doing? The Raikage gritted his teeth, ready to fold Naruto in half. Hold your guns right there, said Naruto. How about we make a little wager? The man wasn't in the mood, but Naruto continued speaking. If your people come down here, they will die. I have no problem demolishing every single last one of them, because we're going to be taking this land. And my people will get involved as well. As you can see, while our numbers are few, it is always quality over quantity. And you think you have the quality in this feat? You stupid naive Uchiha. It seems like all of that fame has been going to your head, which I'm about to remove. Better for the both of us. Why don't you and I settle this one-on-one? The winner get the land, the loser dies, and their company retreat. The Raikage looked at Naruto. He did not want the extra support. In fact, he wanted to be the one to rip Naruto apart with his bare hands. Yes, he wanted to do that. All that Naruto had fought so far was grunts. Jonin 11 ninjas suppose, but the Raikage did not care. He hadn't had the opportunity to fight someone like him before, and he was going to show him that all that popularity was getting to his head. He was about to rip him apart. Fine, he said, taking Naruto's challenge. He raised his hand, stopping his people from intervening. As he powered up, lightning flaring around him as Naruto drew his blade. Both men moved off without a second thought, racing towards one another. The Raikage came in with a wicked right hook, which Naruto dodged away from and swing. The Raikage blocked it with a gauntlet on his arm though. Naruto twists and released a kick right into the Raikage's stomach, coating his leg in chakra to prevent the lightning. However, the Raikage did not move. He smirked at that before slamming Naruto into the ground, showing his superior strength. Naruto got back up immediately and swiped towards the man. The Raikage performed the same feat by blocking. This time though he did not, went to block his chest area, intending on removing Naruto's head in one go. However, this time when Naruto kick landed, the Raikage eyes went wide. He was thrown violently, slamming through a couple of trees, before collapsing down to his knees. The man took deep breaths, feeling the aching pain in his chest. He got back to his feet though, lightning flickering back around him. As he realized what just happened, Naruto deliberately gave his kick a weak sensation, using the least amount of force that would make it seem like the Raikage was not able to move by his force. He did so to allow the man to be overconfident. The Raikage saw his opportunity, knowing if he blocked, he wouldn't have been able to deliver the final blow, so he left himself open. That is when Naruto released the strength that he truly possessed. The Raikage could not understand though. How could one blow affect him this much? He was much bigger and bulkier than Naruto in terms of size. His strength was supposed to be greater, he knew that. And yet, one hit was able to drop him to his knees. He got back up and ran straight forward. The both of them engaged in taijutsu. Naruto's blade clashing against the gauntlet on his arm, vigorously clashing against it as steel started to show flickers of light. They clashed against each other violently, moving at such speeds that most could not even see them, dashing from one area to area, destroying the ground, ripping out trees. Their forces, their collision were deadly and violent. The both of them separated as the sound of metal hitting the ground could be heard. The gauntlets on the Raikage arms fell off and clattered down to the ground, having been hit and sliced by Naruto's sword so vigorously. Seeing that, Naruto sheathed his blade and tossed it. One of the root operatives caught his blade. "You think I would show you any sort of sportsmanship as well?" the Raikage said. "Oh, this isn't about sportsmanship," said Naruto. "You pride yourself on your strength and your speed. I'm going to outclass you in both ways. After all, if I'm correct, you went up against Minato a couple of times, and you weren't as fast as him, and he was using that jutsu of his. But your raw speed is great, greater than his. And you might believe that in the world your raw speed is the greatest out of all. But I'm going to show you that it's not." The Raikage powered up some more, showing that he was not at 100%. This time when he moved, the ground was ripped apart. He swung his arm with such a force that the after effect caused great damage towards the structure when he went through a tree, and another was rooted up, and another and another. He spun around and his and Naruto's fists collided, both ninja moving at inhuman speeds. Even the root ninjas that were supposed to be there as mindless puppy to provide service were astonished by the amount of power. Having to step back, the Raikage appeared as Naruto was there. He rained down blows, at least 50 in a couple of seconds. That was how fast he was moving at. Naruto matched his speed by evading. His Sharingan was now activated. He weaved through blows one after another before stepping in and delivering a brutal jab right to the man's chin. The Raikage staggered back as he almost lost consciousness. It was not cause of the force of the punch. It was where Naruto hit him, on that certain part of the chin. Tsunade Senju, while not there a lot, she taught Naruto a lot about the human body, how to quickly deal with your opponent. However, Naruto did not hit his chin to knock him out, because when he did so, there was a brief second that his mind would be a bit jumbled. Naruto stepped in and delivered a brutal combo that sent the Raikage into mid-air. Before coming back down, Naruto slammed his leg on his shoulder, crashing the man in the earth. Naruto gripped him by the throat and launched him. Running straight forward, Naruto blazed through Hansign. His hand was then covered in flames. He shot his hand out as the flames swirled around his palm and slammed forward. The Raikage crossed his arms as he was sent through the ground, creating a massive trench, digging up a large piece of the land. The Kumo ninjas were shocked as they saw the Raikage just being sent off like that. Many of them wanted to jump down there, but they wouldn't go against his order. They would not insult his pride. As Naruto stood there, dusting himself off, having a few bruises and scrapes from the battle as well, as there was a cut under his left eye. The Raikage was not a joke at all. Naruto looked at his shirt that was burned. It was zapped by the lightning. A monstrous amount of power could be felt as the Raikage pushed himself to 100%. His chest had a burning sensation on it. All the chest hair were gone, and the burn mark was left there as a scar. The man was pissed. His hair stood up. It was shooting up in the air. His whole body was electrified with so much power. The Raikage came in with a lariat. However, Naruto ducked, leaning back so far as their gaze met. The shock look on the man's face at 100% as Naruto dodged him. Naruto kicked off the ground and rolled. His leg was coated in chakra as arm and leg met, causing a violent eruption of power. Naruto came flipping out of the smoke. His chakra surged. However, that wasn't all. Naruto's eyes changed. Yes, in that moment his eyes changed. On that night, yes, it is said that the loss of someone that you love, a family member, a loved one taken away from a Uchiha, would result in the Mangekyou Sharingan. Yes, it would. However, Naruto has suffered loss his entire life, awakening his Sharingan at a young age. However, his Mangekyou was never triggered, never seen before. On that night when she ripped his heart out, his eyes changed for the better. And here they were. His Mangekyou was different. It had a circle in the center, representing the pupil, with 3 arrows. An arrow at the bottom that point towards the bottom of the circle. An arrow at the top right that point towards the circle. An arrow at the top left that point towards the circle as well. That was the shape of his Mangekyou. The thing was, it wasn't average. Never before has there been a child born from a Senju and a Uchiha. There hasn't been a legitimate child born from those 2 clans. You see, instead of the arrows or the marking in his eyes being black, it was red. It was a base of Naruto eyes that were black, a complete switch of what they normally should look like. Given that all Mangekyou had a different shape, they all had the common colors, but his were different. Same like the Mokidan trees that he created. They were red. Never before had there been a Uchiha and Senju kid. So no one knew what to expect. The trees functioned like normal with... well, it wasn't exactly normal. Because they were trees. There wasn't anything that separate them from being trees. There was just something strange that Naruto could do. But no one had yet to know about that, resulting in his Mokidan. Yes, no one knew about the strange thing that came with his Mokidan. It was a secret to the world for now. However, at the moment, as both men seeming to have powered up, when they attack one another again, it was destruction, devastation, blows, twist, dodge, duck, kick, miss. The Raikage was getting frustrated because most of his blows were evaded by Naruto. The both of them started to run side by side and attack one another. As Naruto was keeping up, Naruto then surpassed him and kicked away his leg, showing his speed that was greater by proving to outpace the Raikage at his best. Naruto wasn't using any technique. He was just using raw speed, and yet he was besting him. The Raikage charged up so much lightning, it started to swell. The moment he got in proximity of Naruto, the Raikage released it. The bolt of lightning that was released was meant to eviscerate everything around him. The lightning surged off his very skin. It sapped majority of his energy, taking him out of his lightning form. Because no one that was close to him would be able to step out of this unscathed. Because it was a high percentage that you would die. The area was ripped apart. The surging effect went straight out, forcing most Kumo ninjas to take a step back, forcing everyone to take a step back really, as the power was phenomenal. As Naruto looked up towards the lightning that would have consumed him, his Mangekyou truly got to work. The place was left in a destruction state. As the Raikage stepped out of the smoke and dust, the man was out of his lightning form. Having released that lightning, majority of it, he destroyed majority of the land that they stood on. However, that could always be repaired. That was easy. Surviving this match was not. They've been fighting for half an hour now. Most matches did not take this long. Most shinobis died within seconds or a minute. However, when two powerful forces collided, they tend to withstand one another for a long time. The Raikage had no doubt in his mind that Naruto was dead or gravely injured and he was about to finish the job. He was too close to evade that attack. There was no way that he could simply walk that off. Absolutely no way. Now tell me, the Raikage froze after using your most powerful technique. I mean, look at the destruction that you caused. How do you feel to see that it has done nothing? The man stood there shocked as Naruto stepped out of the smoke, his Mangekyou peering at the man. The Raikage looked away from the eyes immediately, but he did glance at it. The next moment, he found himself in a darkened void, with nothing around. Hollow, he flared his chakra, trying to break the illusion, but he felt real-life pain, and that snapped him out of it. Naruto had cleared the distance and brought the man down to his knees, kicking him over and stepping on his face. Imagine stepping on another leader's face like this, in front of all of his people up there. As Naruto looked down, the Raikage sent his fist up. Naruto jumped away, his hand signs finishing mid-air. Massive roots ripped out of the ground and wrapped around the man. The Raikage was able to rip himself out of two of them, but they just kept on coming and coming and coming and coming. The massive red roots wrapped themselves tightly around him. One around his neck, two around his arms, two around his legs, his waist. They slammed him vigorously in the ground. As Naruto held his hand together, pumping his chakra to surge back this man. As he was surging in rage, that is when the Raikage felt his power drained away. The ground underneath him immediately became blackened and dead, confusing him on that. But his power was gone. Did these things absorb it? He thought to himself. Unable to move as Naruto stepped up towards him. You should be happy that you managed to last this long with me. Around 30 minutes, I suppose. I've killed 1,000 in less. So you should be pleased. Naruto said, raising his hand. His blade was thrown back to him by one of his men. Naruto looked up as he saw his people were about to move. He looked up at them amused, before he turned his back and started to walk away. I'll expect you and your people to vacate this place. The Raikage was freed as he got to his feet. You think I need your pity, he said. Feeling embarrassed, pissed off, so much emotions coursing through him. I bested you in every possible way. You are nothing compared to me, said Naruto. Just a weak leader. And one more thing. If you think it's wise to try and make a move against me after ordeal, let me show you why. That is a very bad idea. A strange light started to emanate from Naruto. as a monstrosity form. Time skip. Danzo wanted to know everything about the fight. As Naruto went up against the Raikage, Danzo spread the information. Because the Kumo ninjas would not. Because the Raikage suffered a humiliating defeat. However, Danzo was surprised that the Raikage did not go above his words and try to take the place, or try to at least destroy it. However, his root ninjas did not say anything that would show why he did that, which confused him. That was because they did not remember everything, courtesy of Naruto. He was always playing an angle, always doing something. The Kumo ninjas started to pull away from their borders and leaving. And just like that, alone, Naruto has forced many to go back to their home, running away because they knew the death and destruction that would rain upon them. The Tishikage has signed a ceasefire with Konoha. Nothing to show that they were allies or something like that, just to stop the mayhem on his people because Naruto had sentenced 100 plus of them to death after he massacred 1,000 of them. Any one of them he found on his border was eviscerated. The rumors start to get out of hand about him even burning babies alive. Well, they were not exactly babies, they were just young children. However, the world feared him right now. It wasn't just one nation but the entire world. Throughout this, Minato and Kushina, two of his closest friends, they tried to help him. Words of him being insane, a loose cannon, were being spread around. However, many respect him beyond anything else. He had single-handedly made sure the bloodshed came to a stop by turning into a monster. Thousands have died, yes. However, Kumo, the Stone Kiri, they backed away. None of them are making a move, none of them are doing anything stupid because they knew if they did, they would all die. So yes, while many feared him, so much respect him as well. Time skip. There are certain ceremonies that still hail to this day from the past, from the Uchiha clan, and this was one of them. You see, Fukaku Uchiha was clan head in everything but the actual name just yet. His father was still around. Fukaku had taken up the responsibility to step up as a clan head. However, there was a ceremony that he truly get phased in. A ceremony in front of all the Uchihas. Something that hailed from the distant past, where all Uchihas bow in front of the clan head, showing their respect and their loyalty and their allegiance to the new in line. Yes, many old traditions came down from the past. Some of the more barbaric ones were disbanded, but this was one of them that everyone was still doing. Every Uchiha was demanded to attend. Yes, they all had to be there. Even Naruto as well. Fukaku's father and a few of the others were there to speak on his behalf. As they have been monitoring him since, they gave him the duty of becoming clan head, yes. They have been keeping their eyes on him. Those who were not his father was watching him to see if he would lead the clan down the right path. And so far he's done nothing but help their people. Yes, in their eyes he was fitted to be the next one in charge. Haroshi, Fukaku's father, was giving a speech. As everyone listened up, him speaking about the clan and his son leading all of them down the right path. As the people remained quiet and simply listened to their former clan head. Yes, soon to be former clan head. Upon finishing his speech, he turned his reins over towards his son, allowing Fukaku to step up. And now, as due to our past ceremony in tandem, I give you the next head of our clan, Fukaku Uchiha, he said. Upon him saying that and Fukaku stepping forward, everyone was supposed to take a bow, showing their respect for the line. And everyone did go down to their knees. Even his wife, Mikoto, who was nearby. Even Harushi was helped down to his knees as well. His old bones are not as good as they once were. Fukaku was the only one that was supposed to be standing, except everyone saw there was another. Confusion marred their face until they realized who it was. Majority of them already know that this was going to be a problem. Mikoto heard the whispers and voices. She knew there was supposed to be a 10 seconds of silence, so why were they? She froze. Looking up, she saw Naruto. Immediately, she averted her eyes from his. Harushi got up to his feet. Big, bad, and brave he pretended to be despite his old age. Naruto Uchiha, he said, in his thundering tone. You will take a bow, now. However, Naruto disremarked the man with a simple gaze. Fukaku stepped down, making his way directly towards Naruto. Are you challenging my position as the clan head? Fukaku prayed with everything that Naruto said yes. In that way, he could have Naruto executed. Refusing to bow down to the authority of the clan head could get a Uchiha two things: exile from the clan or execution. If he could prove that Naruto was a threat that would try to claim his life for the title, because Naruto could not challenge him for it. I will not bow to you, said Naruto, because I will be the clan head. Everyone was shocked to his words. What? Fukaku said, you have to be joking. You think a waste of space like yourself will ever get the chance to lead this clan? Anger quickly reaching his tone at the sheer absurdity of what Naruto said. Well, given our clan politics and all of that, it would have been impossible if my line within the clan did not stretch to one of the original elders of the clan. Therefore, by your rules, by this clan rules, giving me the authority to challenge a position to a fight, to determine who shall take the seat as the leader of this clan. Harushi got to his feet. You insolent child. There is no lineage that link you to any of the leaders in the past. Well, I suppose it's no longer going to be a secret, but I am the grandson of Madara Uchiha. Speechless. That was everything that everyone was currently going through right now. A moment of speechless. Unable to properly even say a word. Everyone shocked beyond their wildest imagination. What? Said Fukaku. Yes, you heard me. I am the grandson of Madara Uchiha. And I have proof, said Naruto. Reaching behind in Naruto's step away from Fukaku and threw something down towards Harushi. The man grabbed it and looked at it. It was a formal letter from Naruto's grandmother, the mother of his father, that many had no idea about the child that she carried and who was said father. Harushi refused to believe this. You think we would take this letter at face value? Of course not, said Naruto. That is why we will simply test the blood. What? Harushi said. Don't try to lie to me, old man, said Naruto. I know that you have a sample of Madara Uchiha's blood. Not just him. Several promising Uchihas from the past. I know that it was one of the pride and ritual of the clan in the past. More when we focus on the barbaric side. There was an order to destroy these samples, but it was never destroyed, and it's currently within your vault. I don't know what you're talking about, Harushi said. Naruto gripped the man by his clothing. This isn't a request, or me asking. My line is stronger than yours. and every other person within this clan. Therefore, you have no power over me anymore until a fight is subjugated between me and you, or your son, who has not yet been sworn in because I refuse to accept him as any leader. Fukaku stepped in to knock Naruto's head off. However, two Uchihas stood behind Naruto, stopping Fukaku. "Stand down immediately," Fukaku said to them, but they did not move. "It seems you don't understand," said Naruto. "Law is law, and just because a few here believe that you should be clan head, just because you have a little bit of respect doesn't mean that you can oversee law that even your father set by his very blood oath. Now, I'll ask you once more, where is the blood of Madara Uchiha?" That is when Hiroshi started to see the eyes of the people. He knew that he had no choice. The people would never sworn in his son if the blood was not given up. They would never accept him because the line of Madara Uchiha starting from the top, there was 5 lines. Madara's father and 5 others. The reigning leaders of the clan that came down. Hiroshi was from one of those lines, but Madara's father was the original leadership. And it was set in the past because there was many internal wars that they could be challenged for the position of clan head. So Naruto was all within his right, and the other Uchihas, they too who understand the law, down to the letter. They stood with the law, despite their likes or dislikes of anything or anyone. Naruto was no longer seen as the so-called bastard that he once was. All of the younger generation within the clan, and those his age and even those above, either respect or fear him. Power was mostly the main go-to within the Uchiha clan, yes. It was mostly power. After all, that was the premise that the clan was subjugated on in the past. So yes, Hiroshi had no choice, as he was accompanied by Naruto and a few others, and they saw them. These samples were supposed to be destroyed, but they were not. Hiroshi had absolutely no idea how Naruto knew this. Fukaku was seething with rage. He was so angry. As Naruto went personally, there was many there to witness as Naruto gave blood. The test will be back in a few hours. And when said tests did came back, well, the next action should take place. Fukaku was pacing as Mikoto tried to calm him, but he wasn't happy about anything. He slapped her hand away and simply walked away. He was angry. He wanted Naruto dead. You could see that within his eyes. When the lab work finally came back, everyone was shocked. He was. Word started to spread through the clan as a whole. Everyone couldn't believe it. He was the grandson of Madara Uchiha, despite those who betrayed Madara in the past by not leaving the village with him and fighting with him. His line was still the most powerful, and now it made sense. As Naruto stepped up, in front of everyone within the clan, Fukaku was there as well. As a challenge was set, Hiroshi didn't seem to like the premise of the battle, because to the winner go the spoils. The winner would be the clan head. The winner would decide if the loser lives or if they die. This was not what he was expecting. Fukaku left right after to prepare himself. The battle would take place tomorrow. It was soon, but there was nothing to waste any time. The battle would be tomorrow. That would decide the fate and the shape and the path that their clan go down in. Time skip. Naruto sat calmly as he was at his home despite tomorrow him taking on a drastic feat of facing off against Fukaku. Perhaps it was not that drastic in terms of fighting the man, but in terms of taking up the position. From day one, Naruto had something like this planned. From the moment his heart was ripped out and destroyed. Yes, he had something like this planned. It could have solved everything. If he had found out about this, he would have challenged Fukaku right away. And perhaps things wouldn't have gone down the way they did with Mikoto, but that already broke that part of him, so there was no reason to even think about that. As Naruto wasn't mad that she didn't run away with him or that she didn't marry him. He was just mad that she did not believe that he could weather through the storm for the both of them. In the final moments before he left, Madara gave him this and gave him the information. Madara had been spying on the village and the Uchiha clan for some time now. He knew things that he should not. He knew about the sample, and many had absolutely no idea about that, but yet, he knew all about it. But it wasn't just that. He knew many things more about the clan. As he too kept things away from Naruto, but Naruto was able to see that the man was keeping a lot just by how he structured his words. However, now that the samples were public, the others would be destroyed, as this was supposed to be stopped some time ago. But Fukaku's father was the one that hung on to them. Since Naruto found out about that, he was simply waiting for the right opportunity. He already had his mind planned out on what he desired and what he wanted to do. He already had his mind planned out on that as he made his way. He headed to his bedroom and pulled out his drawer, reaching inside when his hand hit something. Naruto pulled the item out. It wasn't what he was looking for, but it was a ring box. He placed it back as he could feel someone enter his home. Confusion crossed his face. The person entered without any problem. They had a key. Naruto made his way back down to the living room, as this was not something that he was expecting. Perhaps a part of him should have expected this. Standing there, just like when he first told her that he loved her, was none other than Mikoto Uchiha. She was in his home. She still had his key. But guys, be and subscribe right here. If you want to see the next part and do, like, subscribe, comment down below, and turn on that bell notification to stay posted. Remember, share to all of your friends in your social media platform. And also guys, don't forget to go ahead and check out the other what ifs of the other channels. I hope you guys enjoy each and every one of them. But I'm out for now. See you guys soon. Peace.